Great. I believe that I'm live, right? And if you guys can hear me properly, and if my screen is also visible to everyone, please let me know in the chats. Yeah. Okay, so hello, good evening, everyone. Avinash is saying good evening. Salim, Aisha, good evening, everyone. Lalit Sawant is also saying good evening. Yeah. Okay, good evening, everyone. Yes. Yeah, quickly give me thumbs up if you can hear me properly. Yeah, and if my screen is also visible. Okay, I'm receiving yes. Okay, that means I'm clear to everyone. Great. Sounds great. Cool then. Very good evening to everyone. Okay, so as always, we'll be waiting till 7:05 so that everyone can join the live stream. Till then, what you can do is till then you can share your experiences. How I mean, are you enjoying these boot camps or not? I mean, if you are attending this for like other day, or if you are just I mean, if this is your first boot camp with us, what are your expectations and what are you intending to learn? Please do share that as well. Okay, hello. Yeah, Manikant, I'm really good. I hope everyone is having great time. Cool, right? Excellent, nice. Good evening, Tejaswini. Very interesting, nice. That's great to know. Okay, it's your first time, Aditya. Great. I hope you learn something. Okay, Rati is also saying it's very helpful. Great then. And I also want to make some announcement that are very common, but yeah, for those of you who are joining for the first time, we'll be taking this bootcamp, or we'll be taking this webinar for 1 long hour every day, like from 7th, I mean from 4th of July till 10th of July. And at the end of every bootcamp, at the end of every webinar, at around 7:50 or 7:55, we'll be sharing an attendance link with you, which will have a feedback area as well. You'll have to give your email IDs and name, and that will mark your attendance. And if you are consistent throughout every class, right, throughout from the first class till the end class, after the completion of this bootcamp, you will be receiving certificate of completion, right? And if you happen to like miss 1 or 2 classes, don't worry, you'll still be receiving certificate of participation, right? Great. Cool, cool. Yeah, um, I'm not able to pronounce your name correctly, but yeah, I know that you are from the very start of the bootcamp. Yeah, hard no. Okay, yeah, you put up the solution as well. I mean, you put up this feedback earlier as well about DBMS and all. I will definitely look into that. Good evening, good evening. Yeah, okay, thanks. Cool, great then, right? So 1 more minute we'll be waiting, and then we'll be starting with our bootcamp. Nice, hello, Kritika, thank you. Good evening. Hello, hi, Sandeep. Okay, Satyavan is saying my voice is not clear. I believe like it is clear because everyone else is not complaining. Maybe some issues from your end. Please try to rejoin. I mean, please try to maybe check your internet connections or something. Cool. Chalo, it's 7:05. I hope, yeah, hello, Ritik. I hope we can start now, right? So let's quickly summarize what we did in the last class. From first and second class, what we did, we first of all discovered like what is web development and what all different things are there in web development area, how we can broadly classify them. After that, what we did, we just landed in HTML. First of all, we learned about what is HTML, why it is needed. I mean, why it is needed, and then we talked around like how do you create some simple stuff. I mean, how do you create headings? How do you create some paragraphs? How do you add tables, forms, and all these things we have been doing, right? And I also told you images and etc., hyperlinks and all, right? So these all consist of like roughly our HTML, right? Everything is, everything we have an idea about it. Just a minute, let me show you the page that we have made. Yeah, this is what we were making, right? So in this, let's open this with the VS Code. We only worked with our first till this moment, yeah. And if I run this with live server, I hope everyone knows what is a live server by now. We see this output, you'll be seeing like we have covered headings, images, lists, forms, tables, and iframes, etc., etc., right? Just a minute. With live server. Yeah, and it was looking something like that. Right, so all these things we have done, but now it's time. See, this is not looking very good, right? I mean, to be honest, there is no styles, there are no colors, there are nothing. Like it's just plain, simple looking stuff, right? So how can we customize it, right? How can we add some styles to it, and how can we do multiple things with it, right? So that is what we will be seeing in this class, right? And how is that possible? What are different ways of doing that? Is we'll be discussing. So quickly let's move to our slides and let's see what we have for today. So the first thing that is, I mean, obviously it's the third day. Yeah. So obviously, first of all, we'll be looking at what is a CSS, right? And why it is even used for, and what are the syntax of writing CSS. I mean, suppose if you want to change colors, you want to change height, you want to give any other fancy styles. So how do you give them really, right? So that is about the syntax of that. Then we'll be looking at selectors, right? Now this might be very confusing for this moment, what is selector, why it is needed, but definitely once we'll reach there, I'll tell you what is selector, why it is needed, right? And after that we'll have a look at most common properties of CSS, right? Common properties as in, suppose if you want to change some, I mean, the examples that I've been giving you, change color, like change height, change like width, etc., all these things can be done using CSS properties like borders, etc., that you can add, or all these crazy stuff that you can add. We'll be having a look at that as well. Right, so that is the agenda for today. I hope everyone is clear till this point, and we can move to the next point. I mean, we are good to go with the next slide. Chalo, yeah. So let's first of all see like what is CSS and why the hell it is required. Although I've given you the introduction, I mean, I've given you the main purpose of using CSS in the very first class. That is, it is used for giving the stylings, right? It is generally used for the styling of your web pages. Right, it stands for cascading style sheets, right? No fancy stuff. Now then it says like it describes how your HTML will be displayed on screen, paper, or on any other media, right? So the crux of this situation is suppose you have designed your web page, right? The analogy I've been giving you, suppose if you are preparing your home or you're preparing your house or any building, right? The first step that you have done is you have prepared the structure, you have laid down your bricks, you have laid down your foundations. Now if every structure is clear, right, you have laid out the bricks, you have laid out the irons, and all these things are already there. So then the next step will become is you will start plastering the walls, you'll start adding wallpapers, you'll start adding like all these colors to your building, right? So that is somehow relevant to CSS, right? Now it says like it saves a lot of time and etc., right? Control over layout, I mean, how will your page layout will look like, all these things can be done using CSS, right? All these things will make more sense once we deep dive into it, once we start writing it, and then you'll be seeing how can we define the layouts and all these other things for that, right? Yeah, and one more point is also there that says external style sheets are stored in CSS file, right? So that is an also extra additional point, right? What are external style sheets, or what could be different ways of adding styles to your web pages, right? So we'll be seeing that. That's a very quick introduction to that. Let's move to the next slide and let's see if we have anything further. and then we can jump to the coding. Yeah. Okay. So now, just a minute. Let's see. What is the need for CSS, right? So if you remember, right, in the very first class, let me show you that as well. We have been changing the styles, right? Kind of some styles we have added already. We have centered this thing, right? This is also a kind of style, right? You are centering your text, or maybe you are resizing your images, right? Suppose if I want to resize this image, I could easily do that by writing height and width attribute, right? So you could also say like CSS, some kind of styling is also possible with HTML, right? So definitely it is possible with HTML, but every style is not possible with HTML, right? This is the first point. Second point is ki HTML is generally made for giving the structures only, right? No one wants to like see this mess. You are writing the structure at the same line, then you are giving the styles at the same line, right? It will kind of get messy, which we don't want. We want to say like ki structure will remain in a different file, all these styles will remain in a different file, so that suppose if I want to change or if I want to do like quick editing, I could directly go into the styles and I could directly change it, or I could directly go into the structure file, that is our HTML file, and I could directly change it, right? So this is the main reason of using CSS, right? If you read these points exactly says the same. The HTML was never intended to contain tags or for formatting of web page, right? So all these things you can do with these style attributes, but yeah, that will again get messy sometimes, right? All these points are almost similar, right? If these things are needed, that is why we have come up with a solution called as CSS, right? CSS ka full form I already told you. Now one more thing is that CSS, as in HTML we were using HTML5, right? In CSS will be currently we are using CSS3, right? So this is the latest version of CSS3. Maybe sometime I will say CSS3, that by default means we are talking about CSS only, right? Cool then. So I believe that this point is also very clear. I mean, these are just for like sake of references. All these things will get in our code editor or specifically in our IDs, and then we'll start dealing with it, right? Cool. Now that comes like CSS syntaxes and all. Before talking about CSS syntax and etc., let's quickly see let's see CSS in implementation, right? Suppose if this is our page, maybe let's do one thing. Let's create a new page specifically for CSS only. So this is my new page which I created yesterday, but I didn't use it. But yeah, I'm creating this. As always, I'll be removing all these extra stuff for this moment. If you want to also remove this as well, this is giving you some hard time. Remove this as well. Yeah, cool. Right, now this is our plain looking simple HTML, right? Let's write some simple text over here. Let's write H1 and let's write again our fancy old tradition of writing hello world. Everywhere we start something new. Cool, right? This is our HTML, and now let's do one thing. Let's open. Okay, cool. It is working. So, I was saying that in this HTML is working properly, right? It is working very fine. Now it's time to add some styles to this, right? How do we add styles is basically, now here comes the interesting point. So we can add CSS in 3 ways, right? What are those 3 ways? The first way is by adding an inline CSS, right? Now please don't worry about inline or whatever word I'm writing over here. I'll explain them later, just in a moment. The second is by writing internal CSS, and the third one is by writing external. Also, these are just for like knowledge purpose only. There is like no one will be asking you these theoretical questions, right? So in inline, what does then inline mean, right? I have been talking about inline in the last class as well, right? Inline means within the same line, right? So suppose if this is our tag, right? This is our hello world tag, and I want to give this a particular style. Maybe I want to give a particular color to this heading one, right? So how can I give that? Is the first step. If I follow this, what we will do is we'll add as attribute, right? I hope you remember that attribute. Style equals to, and then giving out the CSS, right? This is just for like illustration purpose. We don't write these curly braces on all these things, right? I'm just giving this key, whatever style it is, we'll be going to give these styles inside this area, right? So this is how you can write an inline CSS, and this is the least preferred way of giving a CSS, right? Why it is the least preferred way and which is the most preferred way, which we will see just in a moment, right? Let me explain all these other first of all, the theoretical part, and then we will see all these in the implementation, right? And the second part is your internal CSS, right? In internal CSS, what eventually happens is key, suppose in the same line, you don't want to create everything in the same line, right? Suppose if you are writing a head one, you are giving that a style, and you are writing an h2, you are giving that a style, you are writing an h3, and you are giving that a style. You don't want to do that every time, right? Because if the style is common, you don't want to write the same style n number of times. So you can skip that part, and you can do one great thing, that is you'll reserve a particular block, right? You'll say this is a particular block starting from here till here, and whatever I write inside it is my style sheet, right? It is my CSS. These all are my styles, and these styles will be applied to your HTML tags, right? Instead of writing that each style inside each tag, what you'll do is you'll create a separate section, and you'll write all of your tags, all of your styles over there, right? Now you'll say like, how will we know which style will go to which tag, etc., etc.? That is a secondary thing. We will see just in a moment, right? So the next point was inside the tag, right? Now what this block I was telling about, you'll give this block a name as style tag, right? You'll open up a style tag, and whatever you write inside this closing style tag will be considered as your CSS, right? This is your internal way of writing CSS, right? Now the third way and the most preferred way, right? This is the least preferred one. Let me write it over here. This is the least preferred one. This is the most preferred one, right? So yeah, let me give you a star over here. So the external CSS, what generally happens is, instead of writing inside the tags or even inside writing the same HTML file, what you will do is you'll separate out all these things, right? All these files that you have been writing, or all these codes that you've been writing, you'll take them out and you'll create probably a new file, right? You'll create a new file, anything with .css extension, right? Why .css? Because we want to know, we want to let our page or the browsers know that, okay, this is our CSS file and this needs to be treated in a particular way, right? And suppose you have written all these CSS wala code in this particular file, and now your HTML file is separate and your CSS file is separate, right? So how will your HTML file know ki, I have to get this style from this particular file? So that is again an interesting point. You have to do one particular thing, that is you have to link this file to this particular HTML file, right? And how do we link that is the secondary part, which we will see in a moment, right? I hope the visual difference or the main broader difference between all these three different styles must be clear to everyone, right? Outside file you can write, outside HTML file you will write, this is called as an external, right? Let me zoom this a bit, because I feel like some people are saying the screen is little not visible. Great. So these all are the things. Just give me a moment. Let me see if we have any interesting question over the chat or not. Okay, so we can use HTML little bit for styling, but using HTML entirely for styling is definitely not preferred, right? Yeah. So inside the it is, yeah, inline. Okay, great. Okay, I hope the screen is somewhat visible by now, right? That might be some network issues or maybe something else. Cool. Great, right? Yeah, external, just a minute. External, the basic thing about external is you will write everything about your CSS in a different file, right? And you will name that file, you can name that file anything, but you have to give that extension .css, right? Once you have done that part, right, now your CSS file is prepared. But how will your HTML file know you have another file that has some styles, right? So you have to link that file. How do you link that file? We will be seeing that in a moment, right? Cool. So let's do one thing. Now let's start by one, right? Let's first of all do one thing. Let's give an inline style to this, right? How do I give an inline style? I'll go inside this tag. I'll write style attribute, right? Every time we want to give any style to any tag, we have to use this style attribute, right? And inside that, you write some mysterious thing, right? Right now, I'm writing some particular thing, right? I'm just writing this thing called as color, and I'll write any color name. Maybe let's give aqua, or maybe aqua looks not very cool. So let's give red only, right? Red is a traditional color. So this is something strange that I've written, right? Please don't focus at this point, because this is just for like just magical things for us right now. But the thing that we want to make it clear over here is how we are giving the styles, right? So whatever I write inside this will be termed as a CSS, right? If I do this and if I go to my page and let's see if there is any change. Yeah, now you can see that there is a particular change. That is, my word is now showing into a red color, right? So how is that possible? It is possible using your inline styling, right? This is the inline way of writing style. Now I will do quickly one more thing I'll be doing is maybe I'll create an h2 over here and I'll say hello world 2, right? I'll just write this line over here. And now since one style is already done with inline HTML, right? Oh, sorry, inline CSS. Now I will try to give this second style to this h2 using what? Using an internal CSS, right? So the basic thing I told you, maybe if you want to give styles, right, you have to create a block. You have to open up a tag called a style tag and you have to write all of your styles inside that, right? So please note that, please keep that in mind, that style tag should be in your head tags. I mean, should be inside your head only, right? This head section only, right? Because why we are writing it over here? Because our HTML runs line by line, right? So if I have all these styles beforehand, then only if I reach at any particular area, suppose if I reach at h2 and I see, okay, I have a particular style for this h2, so I can implement that style over this file, right? Suppose if my file is loaded, right? Everything on my page is loaded, heading 1, heading 2, everything is loaded. And at the last time, at the last line, I'm telling you, Ocha, this is a file that you have to, this is a change that you have to do with h2. This is a change that you have to do with h1, right? So how will my page do that, right? My page is already loaded. So that is why you have to make sure that all the styles that you are giving using internal CSS, you have to give them inside the head. Inside the head also, please open up this tab called as a style tag and please give all your styles inside it. Right now, one silly thing I'll be doing, I mean, not exactly silly, but yeah, one mysterious thing I'll be doing at this moment, I'll be writing this particular syntax, right? Yeah. Now, if you know this syntax, it's well and good. If you don't know, don't worry, right? Don't panic at this moment. It is just a way of writing CSS. Now, some of you will say, okay, this is something different with this, right? Now, in this section, you are just writing color red, but inside this section, you have written some other things, right? H2, you have written, you have opened this curly braces and all, right? So this is just a other syntax, right? I'll definitely tell you in a moment, but let's see if this works or not. I'll try to change this color a bit. I'll try to give this a blue so that we have the difference. I mean, we can see the difference, right? Now, I hope everyone can see the difference that now heading 2 is in a different color, right? And that is possible with what? That is possible using your internal styling, right? Internal styling, it is possible. And yeah, if that is also possible, I mean, I hope you have got the gist about internal styling and the inline styling. Now it's the fun time. It's time to include our external CSS, right? So the first thing that we do is we create a file, maybe let's call it a style.css, right? You can name it anything, just make sure that the extension that you are using is .css, right? And maybe let's first of all create an h3 element over here, h3 element, and let's give hello world 3. And I'll do one thing, I'll go in this file and I'll write h3 ko give color as maybe green. Let's give green this time. Now, if I reload the page, right, nothing will be changing, right? Nothing is going to be changed, right? Why it is not changing? Because obviously there is another file, but my HTML file does not know, where is this file, or is there any file to do that? So there is a one simple one-liner code to write, which we write to include this particular file, right? So that is called as a link tag, right? You just write link and you write this thing, right? See, I've used the autocomplete feature, but what does that says? Link is a tag that you can use to include or to attach any external file with your file, right? Maybe you can include some style sheet, maybe you can include some fonts, you can use any other things, right? Any other library that you can you want to, you implement that using a link tag, right? Now, link tag is okay, but what is that REL or what is that href, right? So REL specify that whatever we are linking at this moment is a style sheet for us, right? So it will treat this file as a style sheet, right? So that is why we have written REL and the value is style sheet, right? And href, so I hope everyone knows ki, this file is going to be attached as a style sheet, but where can we find that file, right? We can find that file in our immediate folder. I mean, it is associated in the same folder, so that is why we are just writing the file name. Suppose if it would have been in any different folder, right? Suppose if I would have created another folder, maybe let's call styles, right? Okay, let's create a folder and let's call it style sheets, and let's drop this file over this folder. Now you can see that this style sheets folder ke andar we have the style.css. So instead of doing that, what we will be doing is, yeah, we would have been writing this way only, a /style sheet /styles.css, right? So these are very basic, like I mean, these are addressing things, right? I hope if you are using operating systems for a very long time, I hope you are you are able to understand this thing. /bole to in the same directory, right? In the same directory, look for the folder called as style sheet. Inside that, there is a particular file called as a style.css, right? So if we have included that, let's see, yeah, now you can see the magic is happening, right? The file is, or the heading is getting changed to hello world 3. I mean, the color is getting changed to green, right? So these are basic things about including style sheet. These are 3 different ways of doing that, right? I hope this is making sense to everyone, right? And now if this is making sense to everyone, what we can do is we can jump a little bit further, and now we can discuss about this part. Ricky, what was this freaking thing that we have been writing, and how was this changing our color for us, right? So any questions if you have, let's quickly see. Okay. Yeah, PPT will be shared, will be there in the like drive link, which is available in the description. I think WhatsApp maybe these will be shared, don't worry. Done this. I want to join these boot camps. Okay, so right now we are coming up with like these free boot camps, but now you can obviously guess ki everything is not getting covered over here, right? Why it is not getting covered? Because we have a very limited time, and obviously everything could not be covered in the very little time, right? So if this is making some sense to anyone, right? I mean, if you're liking this, and if you're saying okay, at many points, I am saying yes, at this if you want to get this in a more detail, we cannot discuss it this moment, but if it would have been like very extensive course, we could have discussed it. So for that moment, I want to take a little bit of pause, and I want to share this to everyone, right? That about the full stack curriculum that we have come up with. Right. So if you are enjoying these boot camps, right, which is just about front end only, if you are interested, you can get enrolled, or you can, definitely check out this opportunity that we have, like full stack development course that we are coming up with is. In this course, what we will be teaching you is we'll be teaching you from very scratch. Like in the webinars, we started from very scratch, right? What is development? Like what are different components of it? And then we jumped into HTML, then CSS, then JavaScript. But this curriculum is, I mean, this bootcamp is related to JavaScript only, right? But with this course, what you will be getting is, I mean, this I'll be your instructor over there as well, right? If you want to read more about me, more about my qualifications and all, you can definitely check out this. And the basic, I mean, the good feature about this is that you will be getting all these things in a live manner, right? It's not like we will be giving you some like recorded classes and you just have to go through them, right? So the key feature about this is these will be live courses, and we'll be having a doubt support, right? Constant doubt support. It's not like I'll be just teaching and not taking any of your doubts, right? So you'll be having doubt support from the mentor itself. No issue with that. And one other key feature which I have observed is we'll be promoting team learning, right? It's not like you are learning alone, because obviously we all know that if you're learning alone, what is the problem, right? You generally come up with this procrastination part. I'll do this earlier, but if you have some 4 or 5 peers learning with alongside with you, you'll have a better chance of not procrastinating and doing that. Yeah, so this is another key features. Now overview you can see that another added advantage of that is it's not only like course only. If we are just giving you the live classes, doubt support and peer learning, we are also providing you an internship, a definitely guaranteed internship at this end of this course, right? I mean, the curriculum, the vast curriculum and like timings and like all these things which will be shared in some time, but yeah, all these things will be there. in internships, what will be happening is he will be giving you some live real time projects, and you would have to work on them. Then you'll have supervisory mentors over there, right? And not only that, we'll also be giving you certificates, right? It's not like any like normal certificates that will be valid across any domain, and you can definitely flaunt them across your job interviews and all, right? So these are your key features of doing that, right? Let me also quickly go through it. Just a moment. Yeah, these are like live classes. You already know, like beginners to advanced will be starting from very scratch, and will be going to the advanced concepts, right? Group based learning will be there so that you don't procrastinate, right? And yeah, one-on-one doubt support I already told you, and that contains 10 plus very good project that will definitely look very good on your CVs. And then we'll be having internship certificate, letter of recommendation, and certificate of completion will obviously be there. One more interesting thing will be, we'll be having resume building workshops from the industry's expert, like from the Google, Microsoft students who have been there, who have been working there, right? So yeah, this is it. Now if you want to check out on this like curriculum, what all we'll be teaching, we'll be teaching front end, back end, version controls, APIs, databases, hosting and deployment, even securing your websites as well, right? So everything about or around your websites will be covered in this part, right? And yeah, this is the detailed thing, right? If you want to go through it, React will be there, Bootstrap will be there, everything will be going there. I'm not taking much time to explain this because, you know, if you find this interesting, you can definitely fill the query form, and yeah, someone from the team will be getting that getting back to you, right? All these projects you will be finding, personal portfolio will be there, expense tracker will be there, search movies and details will be there, Swiggy backend management will be there, blog websites, and interesting trading will be there, right? So all these things will be there. So this is just a if any one of you is interested in doing that, you can fill out the the query forms, right? So now let's get back to whatever we were discussing, right? Even before that, let's take some of the doubts if you have any. Okay, centering a dev will definitely be coming into that rel attribute I told you. Relation attribute it is just telling you what is the relation of linking that file, right? Or why we are linking that file. Link tag always. Okay, so it is not a necessary that you will be linking there is not a necessary you have to you have to add this link tag before or after style sheet. If in general cases we don't use all these three type of styling in one file, right? Because I already told you we generally prefer this one. I'm using all these three types of styling in one file because I have to give you the demonstration so that you can understand what is the difference between internal, what is the difference between inline, and what is the difference between externals, right? So it is it. I want to join these Bootcamp. How can I join? I already told you, man, I can join this. Can we write all inline? See, okay, this is a very interesting question, right? Can we use all these things for one single element, right? So we can do that, but suppose you are a painter, right? And I am your instructor, or I have employed you to paint a wall or something. Suppose if we have three such persons to tell you which color to paint. If I tell you do it paint this as red, suppose someone else will come and they will say paint this as blue, and someone else will say paint it black, right? So what will you do? First of all, you'll paint it red. If second one comes and say paint it black, you'll paint it black, right? So the last instruction that you will be receiving, that will be the final style of your page, right? So you can obviously use all these three things in the same line, but whatever is the last instruction, right? And how do you understand, or how do you know what is the last instruction? See, I told you this file works from like top to bottom order, right? So I can say that this will say do one thing, change this h2 to blue color, right? Suppose if this file is saying something else, right? But if you have given an inline style, right? So inline style is the last style that your file is reading. So that is why if you are giving same style using inline, using style in internal, and using external, your inline styles will be finalized, right? For the same line. If you are using for different other files, then it is not a problem, right? You can use different types of ways to change different types of element. Right, I hope this is clear to everyone. Yeah, and cool. Okay, so about forms to fill, right? So it's just that it is a thought at this moment, right? You'll definitely be getting. I mean, it's just like if you guys are interested, then we'll be circulating forms from the next class, right? From the next webinars. It's just that we are having this bootcamp as well. I mean, we are having this full-fledged curriculum as well. About the timings, about the curriculums, all things will be shared. If a significant numbers of people show interest to that. And also let me tell you, we have we'll be not taking like thousands of students into that. We'll be only taking like limited numbers of students into that, right? So if you have interest in this, you can definitely even fill this in your feedbacks form as well. Okay, we are interested in knowing more about this, or we are interested in getting more information about that, and we will definitely be circulating the forms for that, right? Even if you have any other queries with that, please do let us know with that, and we'll definitely give you a solution for that, right? From someone from the team might be reaching out to you right now. So I already told you what is the most preferred one. The most preferred one is the external one, right? Now let's do one thing. Let's learn about the syntax now, right? I hope this is clear. Yeah, now it's the time for the selectors, baby, right? So in selectors, what we will be doing is, see, if you can see this part, it says the first one, I mean, for the syntax, in syntax what we are doing is, the first thing is about selector, right? Now what what on earth is a selector is, see, in this situation, let me ask you a very simple question. Suppose if this is your simple looking file, and I'm just writing color equals to gray, right? Now how will I ever know where I want to give this a green color, right? I have to do one thing. If I'm using inline one, it is fairly simple, right? Inline mein to in whatever tag I am writing, the style tag means I want to change that particular style, right? But if I'm using that all these CSS outside that inline element, which is definitely not preferred, so what will happen is we will get confusion which tag to select, right? Which element to select, or which element to give this style. So that is why we have something called as a selectors that will select that element for us, right? That will say, acha, first of all select h3 and let's give this style to that, right? So let's get back to this. Now you can see that first thing that we write is a selector, right? What we want to select, what we want to give the styles to, right? If this is clear, obviously now I'm not going into like different ways of using a selectors, right? What all are different ways of selectors? How can you select a tag? How can you select an element uniquely? All these things will be covered later. But yeah, I hope selectors ka use is clear to everyone by now. The selectors is used for selecting that particular element and then applying particular styles to that. Right, selectors is done. Now, whatever, suppose I'm writing multiple styles, I'm writing like change color to this, change font size to this, maybe change background color to this, or change any other things with that, right? So I have to make sure that whatever I'm including within this bracket goes to this particular selector only, right? So that is why I open up this curly braces and I open up till I want to give all the styles, right? In this situation, you can see that we have given two styles. One is your color and one is your font size. Right, so that is why all these styles that I want to give to h1 only, I will write this curly braces and I'll write all these fonts or all these properties inside that. Right, now once it is done, you know like selectors. Now you also know about this curly braces. Now let's see about this internal part, right? What is this internal thing and how will it work? So basically the main thing is every line that you write, or every style, or every color, or every change that you do with your CSS is generally called as a declaration, right? It is your CSS declaration, and that can further contain two parts. What two part? The first part will be your property, right? What do you want to change, or what do you want to make it look different? So in the first case, what we are making the change, we are making, let's change the color of the page, right? Also please note that this is not a typo. We write color, not colour, right? In this HTML and CSS. So yeah, this is not a typo. This is done on purpose. color we use. So yeah, color we want to change, and second thing will be what value you want to change it to. I want to say, suppose I said I want to change the color, but damn, I need to give the colors as well, right? What color I want to give. So that is why I'll add a semicolon, these semicolon over here, sorry, these colons. Yeah, I'll add these colons over here and then I'll give the value, right? So I hope this is now making some more sense. The first thing that we do is we write the property. All these properties are by default. I mean, all these properties are predefined, right? it's not like someone will write COLOUR, someone will write COLOR, or someone will write text color, someone will write any other thing, right? So just like tags we have in HTML, similar ways we have these properties in CSS that are predefined and that we have to use exact same way, right? So yeah, once we have written that color name, what we will do is, I mean, once we have given that property, we will give this value as well, right? What value we want to give. Again, these values are also predefined. It's not like you'll out of nowhere you'll add a new color. You'll maybe say, "Acha, I have discovered this new color. Let's write that name." Right? Maybe you'll write like X, alpha, beta, gamma, or anything. Right? You cannot write these things. You'll only write all these things that are valid in the HTML CSS things. Right? I hope this is now making some sense. Okay. And if this PPT say this is clear, now we can move to the screen and now we can analyze it a more further way. I mean, in a more decent way. Right, so in this part, this is your selector. Inside selector, I've given this curly braces so that we have an area inside which we can write any number of styles, right? So what I've done over here is, let me also write that for you. These are CSS declarations, right? In CSS declaration, what is your first part? Your first part is your property, and second part is your what? Is your value. Right, if you also, if you have noticed this very very patiently, you might have also discovered that now I'm writing comments over here as well, right? Similar way I was writing comments in the HTML file, but the change over here is what? The change over here is that the way of writing a comment in CSS, it quite different from the way of writing a comment in HTML, right? In CSS, how do we write a comment? We add this slash star and then we end this comment with star slash. The shortcut of writing that comment is you just press control and then this slash button on your keyboard, and then that line will be converted as a comment, right? And that is only only available in your VS Code, right? Just don't try it with Notepad or something else, and you'll be saying I'm not getting this comment by default, right? This is for VS Code. Like all these shortcuts that I'm telling you are for VS Code only. Right. Some of the other shortcut might work for any other IDE as well, but yeah, these are for that part only. The first part is your property, the second part is your value, right? And you end this line by writing a semicolon at the end, right? Now, suppose I want to give another Suppose I want to give another another style to that, right? So how can I do that? I'll say maybe font size. You can see over here. I can write font size, and I'll write at this moment. Let's give like 25 pixel or something. Yeah, or maybe let's give it a very 40 pixel or something. And if I do this, something great will happen. What will happen? Yeah, now you can see this the size is somewhat greater, right? Now please don't bother about this point. Okay, what is 40 and what is that px means, right? So this is nothing but a unit, right? Suppose if I say I want to get a I want to get a 30 centimeter long scale, or I want to get a 15 centimeters long scale, right? So that are the generally units that we use in real life, but these units are not very practical when we talk about our development area, right? Specifically in our web development. So in those areas we use units like pixels, we use units like rem, we use units like em and all these stuffs, right? So generally you'll be seeing like pixels. Now if you want to know like what is pixel, how much one pixel is how much, so that is like 1/6 of a foot, 1/16 of an inch, right? If you search about it. But I believe like you don't need to remember like how much is 1 pixel or something. You just write these values. You just write like 40 pixel if you've written. You can see that 40 pixel looks like very big, right? So you can cut down to 30 pixel. Then you can see, oh, okay, 30 pixels looks like a decent one. So then you can keep that to that part only, right? So these are purely hit and trial method. These styles, I mean 40 is what, 30 is what, you can clearly do that by writing these things, right? And that is also done. We have also some other unit as well, which we will see in the way while we are learning. I mean, we are moving further. So yeah, I hope the CSS ka syntax is clear to everyone, right? And if there is any doubt with that, please let me know in the chat section. Let's see first of all if we have any doubts with that. Okay. So that means there is no concept. Internal greater than external. Okay, so it's not definitely not like that ki, this is greater than that or this is smaller than that. It's just like what is the priority of using them, right? So I told you ki, inline is the least preferred one, then comes the internal one, and at the last, I mean, which is the most preferred one, is your external one, right? Cool. So yeah, and how do you use percentage, right? This is also a interesting thing. So I told you about 1 unit, right? What is a 1 unit? 1 unit is your pixels, right? Now there are other units as well, right? Let's talk about units now. See, there can be multiple units. Obviously, if we categorize, then there could be two ways of doing that. Just a moment. If I talk about units, right? Let's have a discussion over that. There can be absolute one, and there can be what relatives one, right? Absolute ones means like the centimeters or millimeters that we use in the real life scenario, but these are not practical to our scenario, right? So we use what? We use pixel, or PC is also one such unit that you use, but most probably you will be seeing anyone writing pixels, right? In relative, what you have, like you have a percentage, right? Now what does that percentage means? Percentage means ki, depending upon your parent element, right? Suppose if I am writing two boxes, or maybe I'm writing like there is one box and there is another small box inside that, and I want to give this box like 50% of the internal of the external or the parent, right? Just a minute. If this is the parent and this is the child, and I want to give this give the height of this box, this children box, exactly 50% of the parent, right? So I'll definitely write height equals to 50%. That will mean what? Okay, the height of this will become the 50% of its parent element, right? So this is how you use a percentage. Right now, text may it will not make much sense. So if we'll create some boxes or all these stuffs, then I'll show you how do you use a percentage, right? And I was also showing you REM, right? I'm also telling you about EM. So these are also relative units. REM bole to that will be according to your root element, right? And that will be according to your parent element. Now, what is a root element? What is a parent element? That is a different part. Root element bole to your size of a basic HTML element is your root element, which is roughly around, I believe, 18 pixel or 20 pixel something, right? And what is your parent? Suppose I'm writing a paragraph, or I'm writing, yeah, this is my paragraph or something, and inside this I'm writing any list or something, and I want to give this the font size of this list according to my paragraph tag, right? Whatever is my parent. So I will use EM in that part, right? If I write 1 EM, that will mean exactly the same size of the paragraph element, or exactly the same size of the parent element. If I write 1.5 EM, that will mean what? 1.5 times the parent element, right? So all these things are very intuitive, I believe, right? And all these things are, there is no need to cram these. Okay, units can be classified into absolute, relative, you will have percentage, REM, EM, all these things. You don't have to cram anything, right? You don't have to learn anything. It's just like you need to know, acha, this is how it will work, and these there are something called as units or something that we can use to give proper measurements, right? Everything that you work with HTML, CSS, or maybe in JavaScript as well, that are available over the web, and there is no shame in referring to that. People generally do that usually, right? So please keep that out of your mind. I'll have to remember everything. Cool. I hope that is clear to everyone now about the units and all. And syntax, I hope, is also clear to everyone how we are writing the syntax, and how is this working, or what was the use of h2 and all. Okay, now if this is clear, okay, some people are asking for the attendance link. Just a minute, give me like till 51 or 52, let's wait, and then I'll provide you the attendance link, right? How to set different font color in a word. In a particular word, if you want to, okay, that is a good question. Suppose if hello world is written over here, right? Now I want to give H a different color, E a different color, LLO, all these words are different color, right? So you can do that, but before doing that, you need to know that suppose if I am giving these whole text a one simple color, right? So I have to enclose them inside a what? Inside a tag. Why inside a tag? Because I'll have to select that tag, and that tag will change the color for me, right? But how about changing each specific color? So I will say that suppose if you want to change, let's do a simple thing first of all. Let's do one thing. Let's change hello to a different color, and let's change word to a different color. Right. So for that, what we have to do is we have to enclose hello inside another tag and world inside a different tag. So now if you start using h1, h2 or any other tag, that what problem this will create to us? This will create a problem that hello will come in the next line, or maybe hello ka size will become larger, or word ka size will become smaller. So for that you have to use one thing called as what? There is something called as a span tag, right? There is something called as span tag. Right. What does this tag will do? This tag will just act as a wrapper, right? It will not do any changes to our page. I mean, neither will our hello come in our next page, or neither will our hello will change its styling or something. Hello will look like exact the same way that it used to look like earlier. But the purpose of writing this span tag is that we now have a tag that is enclosing our hello, right? So now if you want to change hello ka color, right now if you want to do one thing, let's do one thing over here. Let's not give the styling to h2 properly. Let's, in the same line we can write, although if you want to write that into external css, that will also work. I'll write span ko I will select, and I'll write maybe color equals to let's give this aquamarine. Let's see now. Now you can see that hello is now changing. Word ko similar way you can change, but there will be a problem when we want to change our word, right? Suppose I'll do one same thing. I'll write this. I'll enclose this under what? I enclose this under the same tag, right? Under the same span tag. But can you guess what is the problem that is going to happen now? The problem is, if I have said, change the span tag ka color to aquamarine, every tag in my page everything on my page that is a span tag will get changed to itself, right? I hope you are sensing the problem now. Right now, every time we are using a selector, every time we are just writing the tag name, right? We are just writing h2, h3 or span, everything that is working as a selector. But we need to make sure, suppose I want to select any particular one element from our page, and maybe the case that the tag might be used multiple times, right? And I want to select that particularly. So how can we do that, right? For that, we have a next slide. And that slide is what? That slide says about selectors, right? So this is where our selectors will come in a play, and then let's see how will these selectors help us, right? So till this moment, let's first of all discuss about these different selectors, right? Don't worry, I'll come to that point, how we will select that point. For that, we need to get some background information. Let's get that information now. So the first part is your what? For a moment, let's do one thing. Let's give you the attendance link. Yeah. So this is your attendance link. Please mark your attendance, and if you are interested about knowing more of this course, like what is the timeline of this, how can we enroll this, what will be the charges and all these things, and if you are interested in this course or knowing about this, please do mention that in your chat sections, or you can also mention that in the feedbacks as well, right? So that we can know how many people are wanting to know more about this, and then we'll probably launch this sometime, right? Although that one batch is already running, right? Just to give you some heads up, all these further things will be shared later, right? Cool. PPT link, PPT will be available in your drive, right? The drive link will be in your video's description. Don't worry about that. Cool. I hope the attendance link is visible to everyone. And now let's, for the meanwhile, let's quickly continue this, right? So we were talking about what? We were talking about selectors, right? So in selectors, what is the first thing? The first thing is your element selector, right? What is your element selector? Suppose if you want to select any particular element, right? What is an element? I already told you. In HTML, you write tag, right? You write a tag particularly, and you write some information inside it. So everything including that tag and information is called as an element. If you want to select the whole element, you'll write what thing? You'll write you'll definitely write the tag name without these brackets, and that whole element will be selected. But what is the demerit of doing that? The demerit of doing that is every other tag, right? Suppose if I'm using span 10 times in my page, every span in my page will get selected with the same style, which I don't want. So how do we overcome that? We overcome that by using or introducing something called as an ID selector, right? What is an ID selector is instead of now selecting any particular item, right? Suppose if I am selecting a span, right? If this is my span and I want to select this particular span, and there are multiple span in my page, I will give this in particular ID. I'll say this as maybe span 1, anything you can call this. It's up to you, whatever ID you want to give this. And now if you have called this span one, what will effectively happen is, now instead of calling this as a span tag, you will call this by its ID, right? Its ID is span one, right? So you'll say that span one, and now give this color of red or blue or whatever you want to. But there is one more catch. The catch over here is, if you're calling something by their ID names, you cannot just write them straight away. You have to include a hash before doing that, right? Why do we use a hash? This is just to signify that whatever we are writing is not an element, but it is an ID that we are using, right? I hope ID selectors are making some sense to you by now, right? Now, if this is also clear, don't worry, I'll show you how do you give IDs or how do you select these things. Don't worry, I'll show this in a moment. Now, the next part could be what? So I have to select one particular ID. I've selected that, but I want to select like 5 or 6 such IDs and I want to group them together. I want to give them particular style. I don't want to select every element, but I want to group some particular elements. Maybe that can be similar one, that can be different elements one, but I want to group some particular elements and I want to give some particular style to all of these ones. So how can I do that? Obviously, the answer is very intuitive. I can use this class, right? Class is basically group, right? Suppose if I say a class of 50 people, you can say that, these are a group of 50 people, right? So that is way of doing that is, suppose again I'm using the span example. I'll give this a class and I'll say maybe what, colored span or anything I want to write the name. I'll give this an ID, and similar way I'll be doing that. I'll be writing what? I'll be writing color or whatsoever is the class name, and then I'll give the class and I'll give the styles. But the change over here will be what? That now we need to make sure that whatever we are writing is a class. So how do we tell your CSS? You write a dot in front of that, right? If you write a dot, that will know that now we are talking about classes, right? So we add a dot for class, we add a hash for your IIDs, right? Now there are other 2 examples, right? Which is, one is your universal selector, right? This is a little bit different one about all these above 3 ones. So let's first of all get these 3 done, and let's get these 3 done, and then we will come to the remaining 2s, right? So I'll quickly remove this and let's go to our code. Now let's do one thing. Let's give this an ID. How do you give this an ID? You write ID as attribute, and you write maybe what? You write this as span 1 or anything you want to write. Span 1. It's totally up to you, whatever ID you want to give. It's not a compulsion you have to give span 1 or span 2. You'll give this ID as a span 2, right? Now, instead of just calling the span 1 go, let's give this a color as aquamarine or span 2 go, giving this. I'll do one thing. I'll copy this. Just a minute. I should have, yeah. Again, I'm using a shortcut. Now let's give this a different color. Maybe let's give this, let's go with the blue. Now there is one problem remaining with that, right? What is that problem? That span 1 and span 2, it is considering as some tag, right? Which are definitely not a tag. So these are IDs. So I will write a hash in front of them so that we know that these are IDs now. And if I go over this part now you can see that. Okay, just a minute. Oh, okay. I need to write a span 2 over here as well. Yeah, now you can see that hello and words are coming in the different one. In the different color, right? Now, if you want to give this particularly, if you want to give H co different color, E co different color, L co different, and then similar way, you can create enclose H inside a different span tag. You can enclose E inside a different span tag, and you can create multiple IDs, right? You can create span 1, span 2, anything, right? And you can give these styles accordingly, right? I hope this idea about using IDs and classes must be clear to everyone over here, right? Cool. Okay, that is a good suggestion. I should have used a code sandbox. Yeah, but sometimes I tend to give these. Okay, this is a good suggestion. I'll definitely keep this in mind. And from the next class, I'll probably be teaching this in sandbox only. Yeah, thanks for the suggestion, man. Right. So yeah, this is about IDs and classes. Now let's quickly. I hope this is clear to everyone. If you have any doubts with that, please do ask. Now let's see about and let's talk about the other remaining ones, right? What are those? These are very fairly simple one. That is, one is your universal selector, right? What is your universal selector? Universal selector is like, suppose you want to select everything in your page, right? How do you select that? By writing a star. If you write star and if you write anything, everything you write inside it will be applied to each and every element in your page. right? So this is your universal selector, right? Now let's come to the different part. Let's come to the next part. That is your group selector, right? So these are nothing but an extension of all these, right? So suppose I want to select one particular H1 element, right? I want to select one particular ID as well. I want to select like, just a minute, let's do that over here. I want to select H1 is in my page, right? I want to select that. And there is one particular ID called as maybe what? Text. And there is one particular class in my page called as what? Maybe paragraph, or let's call para, right? So these things are in my page, right? There is one H1, there is this, and there is this. I want to select each of three of them, and I want to give them a same unique style, right? You could say, let's give this a common class, but I don't want to give this. I don't want to do that much, hardship. I don't want to give them a class and then want to select this, because I just, there is one particular style that I want to give to everyone, each three of them. So one quick way of doing that is, I'll write H1. Why writing H1? Because H1 is an element selector, right? Just a minute. Yeah. And I'll write maybe ID equals to text, because text is a what? Hash text is just how you write how you select a text, how you select an ID, right? And I'll probably write dot para to select a particular paragraph. Now I will give space, I'll give commas between them. And if I start writing any CSS over here, what will happen? All these styles that I write over here will be given to H1, text ID, and paragraph classes, right? So this is how you write your group selectors, right? So these are very, different types of selectors that we have. Obviously, there are lot of them, but these are common ones that we have, and this is how we use it. Let me quickly show you demonstration of all of them. Yeah. And if you have any doubts with something, you can ask. And don't worry, we'll be wrapping up this just in a moment. So please be patient. Yeah. So ID selectors and classes selectors are done. Let's give this a class of maybe what? Maybe heading 3, anything. Let's do one thing. Instead of just writing this a heading thing, heading 3, what we can do is we can give this a class. Sorry. Heading 3, right? Exactly the same thing that you have to write, but just add a dot before that, so that it will signify that you are writing what? You are writing your, just a minute here. Cool, right? Now you can see that nothing has changed. We're not doing that now. Okay. So this is how you do that. And also there is something called as a what? Universal selector. So let's write that now. Maybe if you want to give like any particular things, what you want to write, maybe you want to give font size, or you want to give colors, or there is one more property. Let me tell you that there is one thing called as a font family, right? What is that font family? Suppose if you want to give different styles to your page, right, to your text in your page, you can do that by using a property called as a font family, right? You write font family just by writing font hyphen family, right? And after that, you give the font name which you want to write. So maybe which is my favorite one, I'll write Courier New, COURI. What is that here? COU. Let's take the suggestion. Let's see if this works or not. Hope this will work. Yeah, boom, it's working, right? So now you can see that everything in my page is selected, and every style, every text in my page is now of Courier New font, right? So this is how you can select everything using what? Using your universal selector. Now, if you want to give any particular styles to H1 and span as well, you can just write by giving by these spaces and everything you write. Maybe what do you want to give? Any specific style? Maybe you want to give margins or paddings. Like this is something different at this moment, right? You might not know about margins and padding. Don't worry, we'll talk about this later. Let's give a font weight, right? Now let's talk about what is font weight, right? So font weight is nothing but how do you it's about boldness of your text, right? Suppose if I write the value starts from 100 and it goes till 900, right? I know that this might not make sense to you, like what is first of all font weight and what is why we are starting from 100, why we are not writing 1, 2 or 3. So it's just like the basic predefined values, right? So if you write 100 will be the thinnest values, right? So let's see. Now you can see that H1 and span elements are selected and these values are the thinnest one. If you want to give this the boldest one, you can give this by writing 900. I believe 900 is the boldest one, right? So these are the boldest one. Now, some of you might have this question. I want to give this even bolder, right? How can I do that? So that can also be done using different alternate properties that we have. But we are only concerned about the primary properties, right? The basic properties that you'll tend to see everywhere, and these are very native ones, right? So that is why I'm only keeping my focus at this point. Don't worry, we will also discuss about some other properties in the coming classes, right? So I hope until this point everything is making sense to everyone, right? Selectors we have done. Now let's see what we have in the next part. We have like all these, there is a description of doing that, right? How do we write that and how do we use that? I've already explained that. Universal and tax group selectors are already there. Now it's about properties time, right? Now we know everything about CSS. We know how do we include them, how do we write a syntax, how do we select them, and how do we make some basic changes in our page. Now it's about different properties, right? What all different things can we do with our page with using CSS, right? So that you need to look into different types of property. So here in this property we have given a link of like very simple. Just a minute. Now how do I go to this? So boom, right? So this contains every property that is there in your CSS. But the catch over here is you don't definitely need to learn about everything, right? You don't definitely need to learn about maybe like column rule width or anything, right? Because you just need to know what all different things are possible and how we can achieve that. But just if I give you like list of these tons of these properties, you might be scratching your head. Hey, what is this? How do we do that, right? So what I have done was, just a minute, in the previous boot camps as well, or in the previous classes, I did one thing. I have categorized some of the common properties using this one mind map. Wait, just a minute. Oh, this will work. Okay, cool. It's working. So what is this? It's just like normally categorized. I've categorized some of the other properties in like some sections, right? If you want to change colors, what are the common ways of changing that, right? You can change the background color or you can change the normal colors, right? In that also you'll have 3 different variations, right? You can directly change by names, you can change by RGB value, you can change by hex. If you talk about spacing properties, right, you might want to give padding, you might want to give margins, so there is a particular area for that, right? Now if you talk about some background properties, you want to give like background images, you want to give background position, size, and repeat etc. things are there also, right? So these things are just for some simple purpose only. So I will attach this in the PPT as well. Don't worry, you just have a look at this and just see, although all these properties are very intuitive in nature, right? Just look at their name. Font size will definitely change the size. Weight, I've already told. Font ka style will be like change the style of that, right? Line ka height will change the line ka height, and all these text alignment will align your text according to left, right, and center, etc. Right? So all these things I'm not explaining in this class because already we are late on time. We are running late on time. So I'll do one thing. I'll attach this, right? Please do have a look at that. And in the next class, we'll be having a discussion about top properties and how do you implement them. Right? Sounds cool. And I also believe that everything that we taught told in today's class is clear to everyone, and you are now able to understand the the basic in and out of CSS. How do you write it, how do you customize style, how do you do many other things with that, right? So if all these things are done, that's it for today's class, and we'll definitely meet you in the next class. And once again, let me share that attendance link just in case you might have missed it. And please, if you are interested about this course, if you feel like asking something, or if you feel like doing some queries with that, please do tell us in the chats or tell us in the feedback sections as well, so that we we can properly start doing that. So yeah, that is it. If you have any questions, do ask them. Else I'm ending this stream for now. Okay, how can we make variable selectors for our style? Okay, so if you want to like make different types of selectors, right? Although these are not like the only ones, right? There are plenty, much of them, right? There is one more cute little site that you can use to learn about this CSS selector game. Yeah, been using this multiple time to teach about CSS selectors. Yeah, so in this, I'll probably Yeah, I'll probably attach that in the PPT as well, don't worry, right? It's you'll get it, like how do you play and how do you select this, right? You'll be learning about different things about you by playing this game, right? Cool. So I believe we have got everything cleared, right? Cool. So yeah, that's it for today class, and we'll meet in the next class and we'll continue from here. And bye bye everyone. Wish you a very good night and happy learning also. Bye bye.